Hello, my name is Stacia, and I'm just a girl on the internet that likes to talk about movies. And this week, as a tribute to Rob Reiner and sort of a New Year's movie, since we're starting a new year, I'm going to do the 1989 movie When Harry Met Sally. When Harry Met Sally is really the movie that ushered in the rom-com resurgence of the 90s and through the early 2000s. It stars Billy Crystal as Harry Burns and Meg Ryan as Sally Albright. Those are your two central characters, the will they or won't they. And this movie views their relationships throughout several decades, really. Sally's best friend is Marie, who is played by Carrie Fisher, and Harry's best friend is Jess, played by Bruno Kirby. And When Harry Met Sally will take you through the time that they met just after graduating from college in the 70s up until 1989. At first, Harry and Sally didn't even really like each other. They had several differing opinions. They would run into each other off and on through the years. And then they ended up running into each other when they were older, and both have gone through breakups in one case in a long-term boyfriend, and in the other case with a divorce. And that's when they become friends. They become the best of friends, coaching each other through going on several dates and the ups and downs of being a single New Yorker. Harry always held the belief that men and women couldn't really be friends. Sally thought that was BS. But in the end, they do end up together, but that is through the establishing of a great friendship. And When Harry Met Sally was directed by Nora Ephron and of course directed by Rob Reiner, who unfortunately passed away this December. Nora Ephron actually passed away in 2012. A lot of people from this movie and made this movie are actually no longer with us, including the two people that play the best friends of the main characters, Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby, which actually makes this movie a little bit more poignant to watch now. And I would say to this day, When Harry Met Sally is still one of the best rom-coms ever made. It is to this day mimicked and honored and quoted and watched by younger generations who fall in love with it. It is by and far a perfect rom-com. It threads the needle just right and can almost be liked by anybody who watches it, even people who are not quote unquote fans of the rom-com genre. It's different from the sort of Hallmark movie rom-coms that are kind of made today, whether they be on the Hallmark channel itself or even the ones made for Netflix and streaming services. There's something special about When Harry Met Sally. At the 1990 Oscars, it was only nominated for one Oscar, but it's an important Oscar. It was nominated for Best Writing for Original Screenplay for Nora Ephron. It really set up her career to this. I mean, she had a career before this, but it really amped her up to the next level where she began directing, she still wrote, and she made some of the best rom-coms throughout the 1990s and up until her death. And When Harry Met Sally was made for about $16 million, and it made just under $100 million at the box office. And that's just box office. It's not the money it made through the last almost 40 years also in the home video market and through streaming services and it living on and on. And it is another New York City story. It was shot on location in New York City and it takes place over several years and it employs several seasons, but I always think of When Harry Met Sally as a very fall movie. And it is also a very, very New York City movie. If you want to get that flavor of New York City, if you're a fan of the city or even a voyeur of New York City, When Harry Met Sally really, really puts the city in a fabulous light. It has its iconic Katz's Deli scene, which has been a staple of the East Village for over 100 years. But that scene of them in Katz's Deli really took the popularity of Katz's Deli to a whole new level. The table that they filmed that scene at is to this day highlighted at Katz's Deli. And Rob Reiner, along with his cinematographer, Barry Sonnenfeld, just shoot New York City beautifully and show it in its best light. If you know anything about New York City, the 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s weren't the best time in New York City, as opposed, when looking at crime statistics, it was grittier, less commercial than it is now. And this is towards the tail end of that era, but they still just put New York City in the greatest light. And yes, the cinematographer of When Harry Met Sally is Barry Sonnenfeld, which a lot of people know him as a director. But he started out as a cinematographer. But yeah, you know him from the Men in Black movies. And of course, the Addams Family movies from the early 90s. I know nowadays there's a lot of debate of, why aren't the super attractive people cats in this movie? And this was during a time in Hollywood we liked more real looking people. Not to say that I don't think Billy Crystal is attractive and Meg Ryan is gorgeous, but people have a lot to say about, especially the looks of Billy Crystal, because he's not the classic rom-com guy that you see nowadays. But watch the movie and tell me if you don't think Billy Crystal is so attractive by the end of this movie. And one of the things that is a highlight of When Harry Met Sally, besides the writing, direction, the photographing of New York City, and the brilliant performances by the lead of this movie, even the supporting cast, is the soundtrack of the movie. This movie put singer Harry Connick Jr. on the map. Harry Connick Jr. back in that day was akin to how people think of Michael Bublé. He was very young, in his early 20s, when he did the soundtrack to this movie, and in that Frank Sinatra style. And the soundtrack of the movie is iconic because of the choice of Harry Connick Jr. as the main soundtrack of this movie, and really just set off Harry Connick Jr.'s career as well. I do think this movie is a fitting tribute to Rob Reiner, because this is where he met his wife, who was also unfortunately killed at the same time as him. Michele Singer was a photographer, and Rob Reiner, they met during his filming of When Harry Met Sally. And Rob Reiner had for a decade been married to Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall and Rob Reiner ended with a good relationship after a while, but during that time between the divorce of Penny Marshall and Rob Reiner didn't believe in love anymore. And when he met Michele while making When Harry Met Sally, he started to believe in love again, enough that he had the ending of When Harry Met Sally changed, where they actually end up together and believe in love, because he met his wife, or who would become his future wife, on the set of this movie, because he believed in love again. So as a tribute to both of them, When Harry Met Sally makes a perfect film to watch. But really, you can't go wrong with many of the films of Rob Reiner. He made some of the greatest Hollywood movies of all time during the heyday of his career. He will be missed. But thank you for joining me. I hope you all have a great new year. May 2026 be much, much better than 2025. I will see you next time. I love you all. Bye.